I have a special VIP guest, Moshe. How you doing?
Good, good. Good to be with you, Andrew.
You care just to let our audience know more in depth what it is that you do and who it is that you serve.
I coach executives and leadership teams to do better, to improve their performance by putting love to work.
And what does that look like? Like, what does average session look like? Like, what's their breakthroughs? What do they get from that?
That's not where I can serve best. Where I'm most useful and valuable is helping people know themselves and how they show up as leaders. So it's as much about how they are being as what they are doing, but better being translates into better doing.
How do you serve, like, how do you lead with love in the boardroom? How does that translate?
It's a big question. First, I'll back up and say when I wrote my book about it called The Amari Way, I wanted to be rigorous about defining love because it means so many things
Right.
to different people. When I was a kid, my parents would sing this song, "Love is a many splendored thing."
Right.
And it carries baggage for a lot of people. So I want to be really clear about what I mean by love, which is simply energy, energy that uplifts and connects. And my example is when I go into one of my favorite grocery stores, Trader Joe's, I feel a little bit uplifted, a little elevated.
Right.
I feel good. And and I feel a connection. Yeah, my kind of place. So they don't call it love, and I tell clients, you can call it grilled cheese. It doesn't matter. It matters that you do it. So energy that uplifts and connects. So how that translates into leadership is if people are showing up with that kind of energy, if their actions are consistent with uplifting, if they're building connection with their team, and it shows up in the boardroom as well. And it ties to being really clear about why they're there. In my opinion, no business exists to make money. None.
Okay.
No business was started, let's make some money. It started to meet a need. People saw a need for something. Like Facebook, let's make it easier for, well, it started with guys and girls, but then expanded to easier for people to connect with friends they haven't been with for years. Instagram, let's make it easier to share photos and visual stuff. So everything starts by meeting a need. And when boards of directors forget that and they mistakenly think the purpose of the business is to make money, that's when things get really messy. And that's where the leader needs to show up and say, here's why we are here. Patagonia is a great example of that. They've been super clear why they're here, which is to protect the environment. And they happen to do that by selling clothes and other
Right.
and outdoor gear. And
I,
making money is really important. So this
mhm.
is not a hug a tree and everything will be fine.
Right. Yeah,
It's
and
not.
I like how you made the differentiate, like you made a distinction between like what love is. You refer to it as energy because yeah, you're right. Love can mean different things to people. It can mean joy to some people,
Yes.
but energy we could all relate to, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the money part comes full circle is when an organization is on purpose and they're being led with love, they'll make
Mhm.
more money. But it's a byproduct, not the purpose.
So why do you say businesses have been stuck in the military industrial complex mindset for 150 years? And how do you break from that?
Well, I think that happened partly because when we were in the industrial age, when we were expanding, we looked to military who were good at large operations.
Right.
So that shaped how we move things, and even titles like chief executive officer. Like, officer, what is that the most meaningful title? But we imported that from the military, and the hierarchy of business that's still fairly typical is military like, the structure, the way decisions are made. And that can work, and that's important in some settings. It's more of a
I
top-down
see.
approach. I don't think that's the best way to do business in most circumstances. And a middle ground between we're family, everybody's equal, and the hierarchical military is something in the middle that's more about what one colleague calls sense and respond. So instead of controlling, like command and control, it's sense. And one example is like, if you're riding a bicycle, you can read all the books you want, If you're learning how to ride a bike, you can read all the books you want about how to ride a bike and, well, pull it this way, pull it that way. But it's not till you're on the bike and you feel it and you know, okay, this is happening. I'm being pulled to the right, so go in this direction, so on. So the approach I advocate allows for a lot more instinct and intuition and tuning in and guidance. And
So,
some people are open to that, some not so much, and that's okay.
of course, because everyone's on their own journey and they arrive at their
Yes.
own time. What are the 7 timeless principles of the Amari Way, and which one do you feel that leaders most need today, right now?
I think the one that's most important is aim for connection.
Explain.
And I say that because there's so much pressure now to be protective, especially in our world and the divisive politics we're in, like to people to hunker down, be protective, and that
I see.
often sacrifices connection. And I think that's front and center. The other one that I would say is to take the long view. So I've worked with many companies. Before I started coaching executives, I had a management consulting firm for about 30 years. And what I saw there was so much money pressure. We need to hit our monthly numbers, our quarterly numbers, and they'd sacrifice next month hit this month's numbers, and then next month they'd have the same problem. And it's this loop that never ends. And so I saw this approach, what I call the Amari Way of love-powered leadership, is a way out of that and a whole different paradigm for business.
How has the Amari Wave success positioned you as the go-to expert for love-centered leadership training?
Well, it's for people who know my work through my book. I do a weekly blog, and it's on Inc. magazine every week, that it resonates with some people, and then they will seek me out or come into my circle, and I want to serve them as best I can. So I recently, for example, got an email from a woman who heads up a development and research firm, and she was so grateful, and I was so grateful. She expressed her gratitude to me. She said, "It's so hard to keep this approach of we're here to serve and we want to bring love to work. There's so much counter pressure that your work helps me be clear and focus and say, yes, we can do this."
I see.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's the difference between leading with ego, fear versus leading with love, expansion? How do you spot that in teams?
Well, there's a few ways. One is literally seeing it in people's bodies. Because I believe we embody the energy that we're moving through life with. In fear, it makes us smaller and tighter. So we might see in how people walk or how they sit. Love, as you said, use the word expansive. It's more open. It's more like this. So even when one experiment I do with coaching is have people imagine something that they're scared of. So to bring in fear. And I just say, and really feel it. And notice what happens in your body. And
So it's all like physiology, like it's your physiology.
Totally, it's the physiology. And they feel that. And then I ask them, how well could you operate as a leader from that physiology? And they recognize not so good. It's hard because it leads to decisions that are tighter and maybe safer and more constricted. And then we move the second half of the experiment is to imagine something that helps them feel love. And it could be related to business, it could be something in nature, a person, whatever. But something that uplifts them and helps them feel connected. And they go like this and they open up and expand. I say, imagine leading from that place all the time.
So that goes into my next questions. How do you help leaders choose love over fear during hard times, during layoffs, mergers, or competitive threats?
Well, first I acknowledge that it's not easy. Like this is not the easiest path or the more conventional one. I hope that'll change. My work is to create a new paradigm that becomes business as usual. So this is how most people do it rather than the exception. And we're not there, but we're making some progress, not just me, but a lot of others who are on the same path. And I think your work, Andrew, does that too. It advances that love and that idea of being of service in a really powerful way. So we all do it in our own ways. Yeah. So I distracted myself a little bit. Could you say the question again?
I was basically asking, how do you help them choose love over fear during hard times like layoffs and mergers, stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, first is recognizing that love belongs in business. And I say, like, if I'm here where I live in Colorado, I might say, how about the Broncos? And the executive might, oh, I love the Broncos. They had a great season. I love them. Or a restaurant, In-N-Out Burger, say, yeah, I love their burgers. I go there every week with my kids. And then I'll say, so you love the Broncos, you love the burgers. Don't you want your customers to say that about you? And something clicks, like, oh, I guess love does belong in business. And I do want customers to say that about my company. And I want employees to say that and all our stakeholders. So that's the first step, is recognizing it can exist. And in fact, not just exist, but be a driver, a fundamental driver of business. When it comes to hard times like layoffs, it's not being attached to the outcome, not taking it personally, knowing it's, even if they're the CEO making the decision, it's not about any individual typically. It's what's needed right now at this point in time. And it's painful. And to acknowledge it, it's what I call taking a stand and staying connected. So I support executives, for example, in taking the stand of, we need to do layoffs and it really sucks and I don't want to be doing this. And we need to do this for the organization to survive, and it's going to cause pain to people, and I'm sorry about that. And then do whatever is possible to ameliorate the pain. Just be very real about it and stay connected.
I see. I like that example of the Broncos, and they say, well, I love the Broncos. That sounds like you're helping them help their customers fall in love with their business. And
Yes.
in order to do that, you have to lead with that. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes. Yeah. And ask the questions, do we love our customers and do they love us back? And companies who are on this path, it's either a yes or, well, we're trying really hard to do that. Companies that are far away, it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, because
So
they're like head or ego driven, like, and I'm sorry, that's another question is like, I would assume there's a lot of misconceptions that people have when they hear heart-centered or love-centered leadership.
yes.
They
And
think
some I
you're like
remember,
hugging trees.
yes. Early on when I was doing some research for my book, I was talking to a then Facebook executive who said, I appreciate what you're talking about. I agree with the principles and the ABCs, authenticity, belonging, and collaboration as a core framework. I buy into all that, but unless you prove it'll make us more money, we're not going to touch it. And so we did the research to show, yeah, companies that do this tend to be more profitable, sometimes wildly more profitable. Now that assumes other things are in place, that there's a solid business model, operations are running smoothly, there's sufficient resources, and so on. But once those essentials are in place, leading with love can make more money, and that's the way in for a lot of companies.
Yeah, I would assume like a lot of big companies would be receptive because you look at Google, like they set up their entire work environment, right, so that energy could flow, right? They
Yeah.
have little pods and they have different things that aid in productivity that you could say is centered around care. Like they have to care about their employees' productivity instead of just throwing them in a cubicle. They said, "Here, listen, you guys could have that booth there and put your feet up and take your shoes off, get comfortable." I think that is a form of like leading with like caring about your employees, not just your customers.
It is. That's a great example, and Google is known for creating great environments to bring out the best in people. Where I think it gets sticky if we stay in the road of big tech, right now they're facing fire for having products that are intentionally addictive and cause harm, especially to younger
Right.
people. And so it's one thing to create an environment that's friendly and warm and brings out the best in people, and that's important. It's another thing to make fundamental business decisions. Like, is it solely to make more money, or is it true to our purpose? Like, for example, the big tech companies deciding how addictive to make their products, or how surreptitiously to put ads into things.
I see.
And so if the big decisions and actions are solely money driven, it doesn't matter what they say their values are, because it's bullshit unless they live them.
Right.
It
Right.
just is.
Yeah, and but then it goes to show, because you said that at the beginning, businesses are not in business to make money. Well, I would disagree and say that there's some that go in there not to say how we could solve a problem, but how could we make money. And I think those are the companies that would be hardest for you to like convince unless you could show them how it would affect their bottom line.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. And to clarify, it's not, yes, people, founders say, of course I want to make money. I want to be a unicorn and hit $1 billion within a year or two. So that's a motivation. My contention is, well, two things. One is every business starts with solving a particular problem, which meets people's needs, which makes their lives better. So stepping back, I believe the purpose of business overall, not a particular business, business as an enterprise, is to make life better for people.
Awesome, awesome. So listen, we talked shop for a bit. I kind of want to switch gears here. This portion of the podcast I never tell my guests beforehand because I kind of want to catch you off guard and get the real you, right? So I'm going to hit you with some fire rapid questions and then see how you do. You ready?
Let's do it.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Here's a fun one. If you could grab one weapon during a zombie apocalypse, what would it be?
A water gun.
That's the first. Name a quote or a phrase you think about often.
What we reward is what we get more of.
I like that. Where attention goes, energy flows. I
Exactly.
like that. Favorite movie or TV series?
Wow. This will sound a little goofy, but for years my favorite movie was The Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music, classic. Unapologetically love that one. That's amazing. Name a bucket list item that you have yet to accomplish.
Traveling to New Zealand and Australia and staying a while.
It must have been amazing out there, huh? Yeah?
Sorry?
It must have been amazing out there.
No, that's one I did not. I thought you said did not accomplish.
Okay, yeah. So let me ask you, what is one that you have accomplished?
Spending. No, there's a deeper one. It might sound a little abstract. Living by my values almost all the time. Yeah.
Oh man, that's amazing. Staying and that sounds like integrity.
Yeah.
Should look like. Listen, how can people find you? Where are you located in these social media streets? Where can they find you?
LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, the usual places. And a website, amarileadership.com. And Amari is A-M-A-R-E, amarileadership.com. People can get my newsletter. It's free, and I get really good feedback on it. It's meant to be of service and no BS, and it's meant how to be a better leader, how to have a better life.
You guys heard it here first. Make sure you go over to his website, check him out on social media, and sign up for the newsletter. Show some support. We could all be better leaders, not only in our business, but just in life in general. Listen, thank you. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure having you on. I learned a lot. I'm sure our guests have learned a lot too. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. It was a pleasure.